Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to London in England, where of course there is a plethora of really nice craft beer breweries, and this is one that I visited a few times before. So we're going to have a go at a Pilsner beer at 5.5% from Weirdbeard Brew Company, and this is one of the Spreadsheet Ninja series. So this one is the traditional Spreadsheet Ninja, which is done with Czech Sats hop, so it should be really quite nice. This beer was rated at 75, I think it was, on Rate Beer, but 96 overall within the style, so it should be a really interesting one. I've reviewed a few beers from these guys before and they've all been really good, so I'm looking forward to trying this one. I have to admit, I just bought this one because I was in Japan and I thought I should buy a beer with the name Ninja in it. I watch a little bit too much South Park and things like that, so I thought it'd be quite funny to review this beer while I'm in Japan. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Weirdbeard Brew Company reviews. I've done about 4 of them I think now, and there's all the usual social media. Make sure you check that out. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel, and as always, to those of you watching in England, please do let me know some of the smaller breweries that you guys would recommend I review, because it's quite hard actually, even at home in Scotland, to get some of the kind of smaller brewed English beers, and there's some really good stuff out there. But anyway, to tell you a little bit about Weirdbeard Brew Company, so these guys, like I mentioned to you, are based in London in England. The brewery is from West London, and it was started by 2 home brewers, Greg and Brian, who'd actually won quite a few awards, and then they decided to turn professional and start their own brewery. So the brewery are now based in the Boston Business Estate in Hanwell in West London, and the guys say that their beers are inspired by the American and British craft beer movements, and they go out and actively promote their beers in a lot of different places. They do various tasting sessions, and quite recently they also have done a tap takeover at Brewdog and things like that. They do that quite often because the guys at Weirdbeard do get on very well with the folk at Brewdog, and like I say, these guys produce the really kind of big flavoured American style craft beers. Their pale ales and IPAs and stuff like that are really good, and I do need to try some of their darker beers as well, because I've heard very good things about those. And apparently the reason for the name Weirdbeard is the fact that everyone involved at the brewery has a pretty kind of awesome beard. They've got a really kind of experimental facial attire, I guess you would say. They've got some really interesting beards, and if you go and check out the brewery's website and the blog section in particular, you'll see all of these kind of crazy beers that the guys there have got. So yeah, these guys have produced quite a few different beers. They do produce quite a few different things as regular brews, and they've also got some seasonal brews and things like that. There's a lot of interesting stuff comes out of Weirdbeard, so do make sure you check out the website and keep up to date with what's going on. So as I mentioned to you, there's a few different variations of this beer. This one is the Spreadsheet Ninja series, and the main reason they did this was because there's a shortage of hops, because they always try and they can never get exactly the number of hops that they want, so this was one of the reasons why there's a few different variations of this beer. So the other variations you can get of this one, there's the Max Spreadsheet Ninja, which is also a Pils beer. That's got Amarillo, Centennial and Mosaic in it. There's this guy here, which as I mentioned to you, uses Czech Sats hop. There's the Faithless Spreadsheet Ninja, which is a Schwarz beer, and it uses Soriachi Ace, Summit and Herzbrucker from Germany. And on Rate Beer there's also one listed called the Faceless Spreadsheet Ninja, but I couldn't actually find the hop profile for that one. So there's quite a few different types of this beer, and there probably will be more to come after I review this one. I'm reviewing this one for you in June 2016, but you'll see it sometime in July actually, so keep an eye on this beer, and I'll probably review some of the different variations of it in the future. But let's actually get stuck into the tasting of this one. So as I mentioned, 5.5% Pilsner beer, brewed with Czech Sats hop. It says about the beer on the side, every brewery will have one. They sit at a desk and throw numbers around like a demented knife juggler. No one sees them, but without them the brewery would grind to a halt in a spiralling mess of paperwork and unpaid invoices. They are the Spreadsheet Ninjas, and they are coming for your beer. This beer has been thoroughly spreadsheeted. Our ninja decided that we were running short of Citra hops, and those we had left were to be used in other beers. This is a traditional German style Pilsner with healthy additions of traditional lager hop, Sats in the kettle, crisp, clean and with a noble hop edge. So it should be really nice. WeirdBeardBrewCo.com. So yeah, you can see on the side here, it tells you a little bit about Weirdbeard, and you can see the Japanese import sticker here too. There you can see it. It says on the side there Biru, as it says in katakana. There you can see the nice bottle cap on this one, and it's the typical kind of Weirdbeard art. They've always got different heads on them here, so I'm going to see if I can steam this label off and keep it for myself. But let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. We'll just get this opened up. There we are. So yeah, nice smoky opening on this one, as you can see. So we'll get it out and into the glass. It's pouring exactly as you would expect from a Pilsner beer. Nice white foamy head and a kind of bright golden colour there. So as you can see, nice pale golden straw colour. You can see the light coming through that nicely. If I put my fingers behind it, you can see there is a degree of transparency, but it is actually quite hazy. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but quite a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there, and a solid finger of a frothy white head. But it's a little bumpy as well. There's some bigger bubbles in there also, but overall it looks really nice. So let's check out the aroma on this one and then we'll get stuck into it. So you know, it smells exactly what you'd expect. This is one of the things when it comes to the Pils beer and the lager beers. They don't have too big an aroma, but it's very distinctive. So in this one you've got a nice little bit of pale malt just underpinning this whole beer. There's some kind of caramelly notes, but mainly a sort of grainy biscuity character in there. A little bit of that kind of biscuity sweet syrup thing going on. Smells quite nice. And on top of that you're getting these typical noble hop elements. So there's a bit of floral aromaticity to it, which is what you expect from the Czech Saaz hop. There's a little bit of a kind of smoother grassy element. There's a little bit of earthiness too, and perhaps just a little bit of a kind of almost lemony citrus, but not quite lemon, but there is a distinct citrus note to this beer. So it has everything you would expect of the Pilsner style beer. And I have to admit, I do always enjoy these kind of craft brewery takes on the Pilsner style. They always work out really nicely. So yeah, let's get stuck into this beer then. So this is the traditional Spreadsheet Ninja, a 5.5% Pilsner with Czech Saaz hop from Weird Beer Brew Company in London in England. Slàinte. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's nice. I mean, the one thing you always say about the Pilsner style beer and the lagers and things like that, they're nowhere near as kind of complex and fruity and things like that as the IPAs and pale ales. And trust me, Weird Beer Brew Company are someone who do these IPAs exceptionally well. And you know, they've done this one with this Pilsner style beer. You can taste immediately it's a Pils beer, it's a craft take on a Pils beer, and it does have a lot of flavour. It's got a big hoppiness to it. These guys are a very kind of hop heady brewery, but that said, I do hear they can make a very good dark beer as well. The last beer I reviewed from these guys actually was the Sujigiri, which was a Yuzu IPA, and that was a beautiful beer. But this is really, really nice. It has everything you'd expect from the Pilsner. It's not going to blow your mind in terms of flavour, but it is very, very good within the style. The rate beer rating on this one holds, in my opinion. So in the middle of the palate, you've got what you'd expect, a nice kind of pale malt character that goes right across the middle of the tongue. On top of that, you're getting some nice grainy dryness actually, that nice kind of almost biscuity sweetness as well. Right in the middle of the tongue, you can pick up some of this kind of grainy dryness. There's a bit of biscuity syrup in there and a bit of richer caramel too. It's very nice. There's a bit of earthiness in the back corner of the palate, but overall the hoppy feel from this beer is very floral and very aromatic. You know, the typical noble hop flavours in this one. I didn't realise that you could call Czech Saaz a noble hop. I thought noble hops were always the German ones, like the Hallertau, the Hersbrucker, the Tettnanger and things like that. But this one really has that nice character. It's very refreshing. This is a very good summer beer, this one actually. It's a bit of a shame that I don't think this is a regular beer. And it's a bit of a shame because, you know, if they wanted to kind of make a name for their brewery and get other people into trying the really big IPAs and things, this is an ideal medium because it's a big hoppy Pilsner beer. But it's really good. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink that again, and if it was on tap, I don't drink much admittedly outside of my beer reviews these days, but if it was on tap in a bar and I was going to have a few beers with friends, then certainly I would definitely have a few of these. This is a really nice, quite sessionable beer actually. Around the front of the tongue on this one, you've got a good mix between the smooth grassiness and the more bitter, like floral aromatic things going on here. The earthiness lingers in the back of the palate too, and that also mixes with a slightly darker floral aromaticity. And just behind the front of the tongue, you get a little bit of that kind of typical, slightly lemony citrus that you get from these noble hops. It's really nicely done. But yeah, that's a really good beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink that again. In terms of the mouthfeel, this one, I'd say this is kind of light-bodied, but maybe pushing the mid-bodied category actually. It's a bit heavier on the mouthfeel than a Pilsner that you would normally have. And I would think when it's a Czech-style Pilsner, you would call it a Pilzen as well, but I'm not quite sure about that. But I think that's right. A Pilsner is always the German one. The Pilzen is the Czech version of it. But overall, it's very, very nice. The mouthfeel is a little bit thicker than you'd expect. There's a good little bit of carbonation to it, so it does have that kind of crisp quality that you always want from a Pilsner beer. And there's a nice hoppy bitterness just lingering in there, and a little bit of sweetness from the malt too. The bitterness actually does spread into the malt base a little bit because of the grainy aspects of the beer, but overall it is a pretty damn nice beer, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to recommend it to you all. So Weird Beer Brew Company, a very, very good craft brewery from London, and this is another really quite good beer from these guys. Probably one of the more sessionable ones that they do. A lot of their other beers are really big in flavour, and they're nice kind of big tasting beers, so keep that in mind if you want to try something from Weird Beer Brewing Company. But another big thumbs up on this one, the traditional Spreadsheet Ninja Pilsner at 5.5%. So yeah, as always, if you have tried this beer yourself, please let me know your own thoughts on it in the comments section below. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the beer videos, and until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. As I said, those of you in England, please do let me know some other English beers you would like me to review, and I will catch you soon with more beer reviews. Thank you again for watching, and Slanja just now, go and check out some Weird Beer Brew Company beers, and make sure you check out all the links in the description below. Slanja.